Back to the Future 2, only on the Movie Channel. To subscribe now, call this number, 0506 460
506 460 460.
Later in the year. Well, we're finally ready for the big attraction. Back to the Future, the ride. I'm going to go and join the queue while Richard talks to the project director, Stephen Marble, about the time travel experience that has become the hottest theme park ticket of the summer.
Hi, Stephen. Richard Jobson.
Hi, Richard.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks for giving us some time.
Oh, my pleasure.
What's your role in all of this, Stephen?
What I get to do is sort of orchestrate these types of attractions. I work with architects, ride engineers, art directors, all sorts of technicians, special effects technicians, filmmakers, to pull together these immersive types of themed rides.
How long did it take to put together?
Oh, this took about 5.5 years, about $60 million. The film itself that we ride through is a $16 million film, which is $4 million per minute.
And how do you feel about how it's actually worked to date? Do you feel it's all pulled together well?
Well, we're very happy with it, and I think the key is the response of the public. People coming off the ride are just ecstatic. They're experiencing things they've never seen before in their lives, and they're showing it, and they get back on the ride.
Check in. 101, lost secure done. Level 2, check in. Lost secure done.
Okay, let's go.
We'll be brave, Richard.
I've got you, Nadia.
Lift the door. You ready?
Right, go. Oh my God. Okay.
BTTF pre-show area is cleverly designed to build your anticipation.
101, check in. 101, lost secure done. Level 2, check in. Lost secure done.
You must have guessed it by now. BTTF is Back to the Future, and this is what happens after you've enjoyed the pre-attraction themed entertainment.
You see definite lawyer accelerate to 88 miles per hour and...
Back to the Future, the ride gives you a chance to travel in an 8-seater DeLorean time machine as invented by Dr. Emmett Brown. The trip takes you into the future to the year 2015, back to the Ice Age, through glaciers, volcanoes, and even into the mouth of a dinosaur.
Not a dinosaur!
Now, to convince the passengers that they're really traveling and not just sitting in a motion platform in a building, the ride designers use lots of tricks.
First of all, we're utilizing the DeLorean time travel machine, and that's a car. People are used to the car. Looking over a dashboard, over a hood, and you see an 80-foot full perspective world in front of you. So that's the first trick. The second is the sound. We use 30,000 watts of audio, 12 channels, all digitally interlocked, it creates a real sound. And, of course, we have to synchronize the motion exactly to the image. And those three things create that illusion.
The DeLoreans are moved by hydraulic pistons in much the same way as a flight simulator. The images were produced by flying a tiny camera through a miniature set.
The film that you watch as you bounce around is projected on a system called OmniMax, which gives you very high-quality pictures that appear to surround you. It was specially produced for the ride, and it's the most expensive 4.5 minutes of film ever made. It cost $16 million.
The most important factor of making the experience convincing is to make sure that the sound, pictures, and motion all happen exactly together.
There was a technician who actually was able to create the program by drawing the movement with a mouse of the piston. So as we came into Hill Valley, we knew exactly what point in the film that the image was going to stop, and that's the point that we would program for the ride system itself to stop.
The computers also control various live effects, like the smoke which engulfs you at various points.
Lines and free-falling thousands of feet down a cliff.
It has the most interactive opportunities imaginable. We actually place the people in a DeLorean, and we send them shooting 25 years into the future and then countless years into the past.
But you never really go anywhere. The sensation of movement is all an illusion. During the 4.5-minute ride, the DeLorean never moves more than 2 feet in any direction. So how do they make you feel you're flying? By marrying moving pictures and the mechanics of computer-controlled hydraulics. It all starts here with a technology similar to that used in flight simulators. There are 24 cars, each seating 8 passengers. They move in unison, rocking, rolling, and pitching in sync with the film, which is projected on an 80-foot cinema screen. The whole thing is housed in a huge 13-story building.
It feels like you're traveling thousands of feet down a cliff when actually the car's only moving forward or back a couple of feet, and the camera is traveling a long distance.
The man responsible for the film portion of the ride is special effects expert Douglas Trumbull, seen here creating fireworks for another theme park attraction.
The ride doesn't have to continue to move as long as the image continues to move, because your nervous system and your brain and your inner ear is used to that idea and will carry you. It will just convince you that you're continuing to move even though you're not.
90% of the film is photographed using miniatures. Before one frame of film could be exposed, every camera move had to be choreographed. How? They built movable foam models of the buildings to work out the best position to place the camera.
And then we made a little DeLorean car that was about 2 inches long on a little stick. And we would just move the car through the buildings and just sort of think, well, does this seem too fast, or does this seem too slow, or can we change the distance between the buildings to make a close scrape?
With the camera movements decided, Trumbull and his team were ready for the next challenge, building the miniature sets for real. When they were ready to shoot, the filmmakers used a computer to control the camera and programmed it so that the camera would repeat identical movements take after take. Then, the movement of the camera is synchronized to the movement of the cars on the ride.
Part of the trick to Back to the Future and part of the realism of this ride is that we shot the film and programmed the ride system simultaneously.
While they were filming, Trumbull and his crew had a simulator car actually set up in the film studio. They shot some test film, and while it was being processed, technicians would program the simulator. An hour later, Trumbull and his team would sit in the simulator and try it out.
Sometimes it feels really great, sometimes it feels awful, sometimes it makes you sick. And we go back and change the motion of the camera, try it again, change the motion of the car, change the motion of the camera. We sometimes go through that several times, sometimes 6 or 7 times, until we find that perfect combination of physical motion and camera motion that really triggers off your nervous system.
Early versions were giving people motion sickness. That had to be fixed. There was only one man for the job, Doc Brown.
Greetings, volunteers! Doc Brown here!
No, not that Doc Brown. Dr. Richard Brown, an expert ride tester who's worked on more than 100 amusement park rides over 20 years. His job is to push the excitement level as high as possible while making sure the human body can cope with the ride.
We have equipment that will mount into the ride vehicle. It rides just like a person would. It gives us a continuous, what's called acceleration versus time profile. And knowing the accelerations that the ride is imparting to the occupant, you can then predict what the rider's response to that dynamic acceleration is going to be.
De-jargonized, it means that Doc Brown and his box of tricks can tell when the average person is likely to get sick. He and his special test equipment take the ride dozens of times. The data he got in this case enabled him to pinpoint the problem. It seemed the simulator vehicles weren't perfectly in sync with the film.
Way back.
So the eyes were seeing one thing, the body was feeling something else, and the brain was simply getting confused. A few adjustments, and the Back to the Future ride was ready for the paying public. As for Doug Trumbull, he sees his creation as rather more than just 4.5 minutes of special effects.
It's as though you've been taken out of your theater seat and placed into the movie. You're inside the movie. You're not empathizing with some character who's falling over the edge. It's you falling over the edge. It's a whole new kind of drama.
We bumped him! The impact between the two vehicles should send us straight back to the Institute.